In today's video, I am gonna give you a 100% no thrills, no frills video about Palantir and their connection to the NHS. There's a brand new prime minister in town, and this prime minister straight up shouted out Palantir Foundry at a recent 1-hour speech to the NHS. I'm gonna play you the clip in just a moment, so please stick with me. But let me paint you a picture so you understand why this is absolutely massive. And again, this is the highest political figure in the country of United Kingdoms, or the countries of the United Kingdoms, straight up shouting out Palantir Foundry, which I'll play you in just a moment. So understand the massive news and the massive implications that this is, but nobody's covering it, okay? The news is covering their eyes. It's crazy. Palantir, for anybody that's new to this channel, is a software, and this software takes a bunch of data, and instead of just giving you data that you comb through yourself, it combs through it smart, and it gives you usable data in real time that actually transitions your company or your department or your government, whatever you're using it for. That's what Palantir is. It is an extremely smart, proactive, not reactive type of data combing. That's what it is. Very, very simple. It makes you the best version of yourself. This guy, Rishi Sanak, takes power and he says, hey, I have a couple of things that I'm going to do for the country. One of the things that he said he's going to do is he's going to reduce waiting times. Reduce waiting times in the NHS. He says, I have billions of dollars to spend to shore up, and I'm going to reaffirm my commitment to the NHS. Even though we're trying to reduce inflation, we're trying to get spending under control, we have billions with a B pounds to spend to help the NHS. And I have a 5-part plan. I'm going to tell you the 5-part plan before I play you the video of what he actually said. This 5-part plan is part of the speech, but I don't want to play you like a 20-minute speech. I want to play you just a quick minute after I'm done talking. In his 5-part plan, if you could imagine, does this have Palantir's name all over it? More capacity, increased workforce, discharge the backlog of 14,000 patients, come up with a virtual ward so that we can treat patients outside of the hospital, and then improve the 111 services, which is basically healthcare through a phone call. I guess that's like their 911 or something for healthcare. Not exactly sure, whatever. So those are the 5 things that he wants to do. He wants to increase capacity. He wants to increase the workforce. Specifically, he wants to discharge and comb through the backlog. He wants speedy discharges. And of course, that outside virtual ward. So think about what I just said. How many of these things can be helped by Palantir Foundry? One of the questions that he was asked during his interview with the NHS, and I'm going to play it in just a moment, he was literally asked, how do we manage our waiting list and use the data to optimize our backlog? Remember what I just said? Palantir Foundry, it doesn't just give you data, it gives you a proactive measure so that you can make yourself better, okay? Let's figure out how to fix the symptoms instead of just taking medications. It's not an Excel sheet, it's not a PowerPoint, it is real data that can actually help you. And then he starts talking about 2 actual examples where Palantir Foundry reduced waiting times by 28%, nearly a third, in 2 hospitals, Chelsea and Westminster. And he's literally going to say this right now. I'm going to play you a clip. And the most amazing thing with all of this is he said something very interesting. One of the nurses says, hey, so we were able to reduce backlog without using Palantir. She didn't say Palantir without like these fancy programs. And he says, fantastic, because that allows us not to deal with a complicated procurement process. So he's kind of foreshadowing like, yo, it's so hard for us to deal with all of the red tape and bureaucracy, even though he's the highest political power in his country. And the stupid people that are making hate articles about Palantir, rather people suffer and die instead of get good health care and reduce patient waiting times and reduce backlog and make you more efficient than to use Palantir. All because Palantir is associated with Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel supports Donald Trump. This is where it's all coming from. 100%, this is where it's coming from. Donald Trump, Peter Thiel, Palantir. That's all. Nobody gives a flying fizzle about the actual patients that are suffering, except for Palantir, which is proven to reduce waiting times by nearly a third, which is absolutely freaking mind-boggling if you ask me. I'm gonna play you the clip right now, and then I wanna give you guys a closing statement of what I think is happening. Hear it from this guy's words. hear it from the mouth of the United Kingdom's Prime Minister.
Part of it actually is having more data and technology around management of your backlog in its entirety is clearly and obviously good thing to do. And again, it's what I was saying before. It sounds kind of obvious. Okay, we should use some technology to help us analyze our waiting list and then organize ourselves in the most optimal way. That doesn't actually happen everywhere, right? And that's part of our job, is to spread that best practice. There's a couple of different systems, Foundry is another one. There are a few different systems that do a really good job of exactly what you're saying. Chelsea and Westminster is another trust which used some IT, which made a 28%, almost a third reduction in their backlog just by organising. For them, it was cleaning through their list, then organising their theatre. All of you, the nurses who have to work in theatres, there's optimising your theatre list on a day-to-day basis. Right, I can see all you nodding. Right, managing the cancellations. Right, that is so important. And again, the technology can really help us do that. And your point on the metrics, I will take away with Amanda. And you did great, even better, brilliant. Yeah, no, great. No, that is great, because then that doesn't have to go through some complicated procurement process, which will take too long. So Excel will solve the problem for us. No, it's great, but it's a straightforward thing, right? And again, a lot of what I'm talking about actually probably sounds relatively, it might sound slightly boring and a bit operational, but that's what it takes, right? We need to make sure that we support all of you.
You heard it from the horse's mouth himself. He praises Palantir. It's nowhere in the mainstream media. Nobody's talking about this. I think I'm the only one that's playing this clip online, to be honest with you, and it's all good. We Palantards understand what the deal is. We understand what's happening. Why is this important? We are trying to get right now a $500 million to a $1 billion contract over the next 5 to 10 years with the NHS to build a federated data system. The federated data system is broken down into several categories. Those several categories literally cover, if I'm not mistaken, they would cover 3 to 4 of this 5-part plan. More capacity, increase the workforce, discharge the backlog, and build a virtual ward. I don't know if they could help with the phone call services, but at least 3 to 4 of these 5-part plans can be absolutely helped with Palantir Foundry. And you heard him literally say, we don't have to deal with the nasty procurement process, which means he's literally saying we're having a very hard time procuring Palantir because of the red tape. Read between the lines. Palantir is the front runner, as many articles love to hate on them, to get this contract. We need this contract as Palantir. This is definitely going to bolster us up, but Palantir is working. Not from my mouth, not from Palantir's mouth, but literally the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom is saying Palantir is working, and we will use more of this type of technology and this type of software to make it work even more, instead of just this small test subject of 2 hospitals across the entire NHS England and across the entire NHS United Kingdoms. At the end of the day, this is a super exciting time to be a Palantard and a Palantir shareholder. I do believe that at the end of 2023, a lot of these contracts are going to be coming in, and we're also going to get a lot of information about the Titan program, which is also a $1 billion+ contract. Between the NHS, and make no mistake, we already have, I don't even know off the top of my head, we probably have between 50 to 100 million pound worth of contracts with the NHS. We have a ton of them. We just extended one for like $13 million or something. So we have working capacity. We have a working relationship with the NHS. We help them like crazy during COVID for PPP distributions, for vaccine distributions, regardless if you believe in it or not. That was a huge undertaking between the United Kingdoms and the United States and any of our other allies that Palantir was working with, and Palantir was able to do it using Palantir Foundry. That's how powerful our software is. Again, not my words, not Palantir's words. The freaking Prime Minister of the United Kingdoms, not to mention former President Donald Trump, who praised Palantir indirectly by praising Operation Warp Speed. Where do you think Operation Warp Speed came from? What was it built on? Operation Warp Speed was literally built on Palantir Foundry. Plain and simple, guys. And if you want more content like this, please click on this video down below. It's an absolutely amazing video, and you will absolutely be happy that you clicked on this video below. That gives you more information about Palantir. Thank you, and have a great weekend.